Here's how to build a network of millionaires even if you're introverted. You've heard it before. You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, or your network is your net worth. But if you're introverted or if you're starting from zero, how do you actually build a powerful network of successful people, right? It's the chicken or the egg problem. Well, how do I get more successful people in my life if I don't know successful people? I get the concept. How do I do it? That's what I'm gonna be covering in this video, and I'm gonna walk through exactly how I started from nothing. So from college dropout to building a $70 million company over the last decade, and it's all about the relationships that I built. So I'm gonna give you the who, the why, and the how to create a people plan or a network plan in your life. You're gonna wanna stick around the end because there's this thing called the red flag warning, and it's how to deal with red flags in your life, in your relationships. These are ultimate landmines. It's crazy. I've dealt with it, you've dealt with it, even if you didn't know it yet. And I'm gonna show you how to deal with that when those pop up. Now, first off, why does this matter? So that quote that I mentioned earlier, the Jim Rohn quote, I love it. It's you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. All right, and so if you just look around your circle, you're the average of the 5 people in wealth, in health, in mindset, in habits. This is why the proven process of Alcoholics Anonymous and other addiction breaking routines or programs, well, the first thing they do is you can't keep hanging around the same people. Right? If you're trying to make change in your life, you can't hang around the people who resist that change or who bring you down. And in fact, if you take your 5 closest friends, you average out what they make on a yearly basis, that's gonna be about what you make. If you average out their fitness level, are they overweight or are they in shape? That's probably gonna be about what you're like. And if you average out the habits that they have on a regular basis, it's gonna be you. Now, most people let their network happen by accident, but successful people build it intentionally. And they go to extreme lengths to make sure that their network is constantly leveling up and that they surround themselves with people who inspire them. So I'll give you a few personal examples for myself. So this is how important this is to me. I've done this multiple times in my life. So when I dropped out of school, I knew that if I dropped out of school, but I stayed in the environment that I was in, it wasn't gonna work. Right? So I burned the boats, I sank the ships, and I moved halfway across the country to Des Moines, Iowa. Okay, no offense to anybody who lives in Des Moines, Iowa, but do you think I had many reasons to move to Des Moines, Iowa? No, I was living in Charleston, South Carolina, I think one of the best cities in the US, but I knew that if I moved there, I'd be around mentors and people who inspired me. So I had 3 or 4 mentors in the area. And so I said, I want to get in the room with those people. And in fact, so much so, I want to get in a house with those people. So I moved into an entrepreneur house. I willed my way into it. I got a bunch of no's, but then finally I ended up living with 5 guys, all building successful companies. All right. So daily I was surrounded by people who inspired me to dream bigger, to act bigger, right? And to chase after my goals. But then again, when that happened, I've got this kind of internal alarm meter. I would encourage you to set up something similar, which is anytime I get too comfortable or too complacent, the alarm starts going off. Woo, woo. This is the complacency alarm. And so that happened when I was in Des Moines, and I had a buddy who said, hey, you gotta come with me to San Diego. This is where all the people running online businesses like us, this is where they're at, right? So I moved again. And then I created an entrepreneur house, willed this from scratch. I got a whole video on this, what's an entrepreneur house, why you should create one, how to create one, all that stuff. So check out that video. But it's essentially getting in a house with people who challenged me to grow in every facet, right? So I had someone who was way more successful in business, someone who was way more successful in health, in faith, etc. And so I basically just took the wheel of life and I said, hey, I want one person who's gonna inspire me and challenge me in all facets of life. And so that entrepreneur house still exists to this day. And I grew like crazy when I was in that house because we had weekly masterminds. We were constantly inspiring each other to level up. But then again, the complacency meter started to go off. All right, I looked around in San Diego. I said, hey, everyone here is trying to scale a 6-figure company, lifestyle business, and they were all telling me, hey, why are you working so hard? You should chill. Grab it, here's the surfboard, there's the beach. What are you doing? Why are you working so hard? So I realized this was no longer serving me. I'd already achieved goals that most people around me had achieved, so I gotta break out once again. So I went up to San Francisco. And I remember going to that city thinking, This is where people come to chase unicorn status, right? They're trying to grow the next billion-dollar company that changes the world. This is more my speed. And I remember walking through the city, looking over on a park bench and thinking, that guy might be coding the next Uber. And so I got outside of my comfort zone, once again, got around people who inspired me to grow. And so I'm gonna teach you some of these principles throughout this video, but whether it's an entrepreneur house, whether it's a mastermind, whether it's an accountability group, you gotta get in the room with people who inspire you to be better. All right, so the first pillar of this framework is the who, and this is the people plan framework. So who are you gonna target? And we're gonna get really specific around this. So what I like to do is you can create a spreadsheet. This is my people plan spreadsheet, or you can integrate this into your yearly planning. But you want to create a centralized place where you're being intentional about the people that you want to build relationships with. So I look at this in three main categories. Number one, there's people who you want to deepen relationships with. So these are the people that you want to prioritize. Now, if you're anything like me, you got a bunch of different contacts, you got people texting you, emailing, all this stuff. It can kind of be hard to separate the wheat from the chaff. So you got to get specific about these are the 10 to 20 people I want to really deepen relationships with. And then number two, these are people you want to meet. All right. And so this is where you start to get targeted around, okay, maybe I've got an idea of the type of people that I want to meet, or maybe I've got no idea. And here are organizations where those people hang out, right? So you can kind of choose your own adventure there. And then number three, people who you know that can introduce you to those people. So those are kind of the three buckets that I want you to drill down into. And then there's kind of two ways that you can flesh out this people plan. So first things first, you maybe already started brainstorming on all this stuff. Then I would use social, right? Go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook, Instagram, whatever social that you use, and find mutual connections to people who know those people. Right? So maybe you've got this whole list or you got these organizations, but then you're like, I don't know anyone who can introduce me to these people. Go look. All right, so go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, look for mutual friends, look for mutual connections, and now you can start to build that out and be a little bit strategic. So that's the first option you can choose to find mutual connections. And then if that's not working, or if you just really want to put this on overdrive, well then look for places that they gather or organizations where these people gather. This is a really big cheat code. I remember when I moved to San Francisco, and a lot of times if you're in a new city or a new place or maybe a new industry, or you just haven't really ever done this, you're like, where do I start? And so I would find meetup groups. I would find, if you're an entrepreneur, do you qualify for an entrepreneur organization group or an EO accelerator, a Vistage, a YPO? Where are these organizations, or where are these places that this type of person gathers? And maybe you even go to Eventbrite, or you go to meetup.com or whatever, and you start getting yourself in proximity to the type of people that you want to build relationships with. So that's the people plan framework. You got to build it first, you got to flesh it out, and then lastly, you got to block time to intentionally reach out. So maybe it's 30 minutes a day, maybe it's an hour a week, to start being an intentional and strategic about who you want to reach out to and the organizations that you want to be a part of. And then you use the rest of this process that I'm going to teach to put this on overdrive. So that's identifying the who. Now we move to the how. These are some networking tools and strategies that I've used to exponentially level up the quality of my network. So there's really three key pillars here. Number one is events. This is the ultimate cheat code. If you're anything like me, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina. I looked around and there wasn't a lot of people like me chasing similar goals. And I'd say two things. Number one, yeah, they exist. You probably just don't know them yet. But then number two, the cheat code to meet those people is to get in rooms where they gather, which is events. So I've been attending events and investing in events for as long as I can remember. I think I remember my 17th or 18th birthday, I was at an event. It was one of the first events that I've ever been to. I want to learn how to become a better speaker. So I found a really good event on speaking. And so I got in a room full of speakers, and guess what? I became a better speaker. So find the events, maybe in your town, in your city, or maybe you got to go elsewhere. Find the events where the people that you want to know, or the people who are chasing similar goals, where they gather, and show up for those events. That's number one. Number two, host mastermind dinners or founder dinners at those events or in your city, right? You can do this whether you're on the road or in your city. This is the ultimate cheat code, because now all of a sudden, you bring 8 people around a table that have common interests. And I love to do this when I'm traveling to events, because I'll travel to the event. I'll find, see if I can get a hold of the list of attendees or people that I know or whatever else, or I'll post on social, hey, anybody going to this event, I'd love to meet up. And then I'll do the legwork to create those dinners. I'll book the reservations. I'll facilitate the conversation. Now all of a sudden I'm meeting a bunch of new people. I'm deepening relationships and building connections from the event. All right. And then number 3, this is my secret weapon. So this is creating masterminds around specific topics you want to get good at. Okay. Now you don't have to overcomplicate this. A lot of times people think, how would I do this? I don't even know people in this area, whatever. But it starts like this. So number 1, you identify what's a topic that I want to know more about. Okay, so I'll give you a couple examples. For me, I wanted to get into some real estate investing. So I said, all right, maybe commercial real estate investing. Another example, I want to get better at content marketing, making videos like this. So those are both live examples. I hosted masterminds around that. And so I said, hey, I'm going to invite 10 people around this thing, these smartest, most successful people in this area, and I'm going to be the dumbest person in the room. I love this quote. It says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And so I said, all right, let's find the best commercial real estate investors. And so I just asked around, hey, who do you know that is the best commercial real estate investor? Okay, I've got something I think they're going to really like, and I'm going to get them in the room with other people like them. And so I'm beginning with what's in it for them. Because why would they come do this unless they see value for themselves? So say, hey, I'm gonna facilitate it. We're gonna bring the best commercial real estate investors from Austin. We're gonna bring them all together in one room. I'll cover the cost of the food. I'll facilitate it. All you have to do is show up. And then you start getting yeses and you say, well, who else do you know that's really good at this? I know nothing about commercial real estate investing. And 2 hours later, 3 hours later, I've got pages full of notes and a Rolodex full of contacts that can help me in that area. Right? I repeated the same thing with content marketing. But this time, and this is kind of a little bit of a cheat code, is I found a pillar person to co-host this event, right? So I'm like, I don't know anybody in this space. Who does? Oh, that person. So then I came to that person. I said, hey, what if we did this together? You invite the people, I'll take care of everything else. So I facilitate the whole thing. They look good. Everybody loves it. And people always end those mastermind events thanking me. All right, and this is kind of counterintuitive for some people, and it's really, I think a lot of times it's just an excuse not to get started. It's like, well, hold up, why would they do this? Why would they show up to this thing? Like, are they gonna like it? Are they doing me a favor? No, you're doing them a favor by facilitating this conversation and by just being the dumbest person in the room. And then when you get there on the day of the mastermind, I like to ask a few simple questions. Hey, what's your superpower? What's something that's working? What's your biggest problem right now that you gotta solve? All right, and then we'll start kind of masterminding and zero in on the top 2 or 3. We'll go around. People are connected with other people who are maybe have this superpower or have this thing that's really working right now. Okay, hey, let me talk to you after, right? Or you got a solution to my problem? Cool, let's talk after. So you're facilitating all these conversations and you're building relationships. People will thank you. Just do this. If you do nothing else, host a mastermind around a specific topic. It's the ultimate cheat code to meet more people. Now I'll give you one more bonus tip on the how, and then I'll give you an ethos to keep in mind as you go through this. So this last bonus tip, and this is not for everyone, okay? So this might not be for you, but one of the things that I've done throughout my life is I've always lived in an apartment or house or whatever that was bigger than what I needed and had extra space. And I would invite anyone who wanted to stay at my house when they were in town. All right, so I'm saying, hey, if you're ever in town for an event in Austin, hit me up, you can stay at my place. And especially early on when I was on the come up, I mean, we had people staying on air mattresses, sleeping on futons, sleeping on bean bags. But I found that was the ultimate way to deepen relationships is they spend 2 days at your house, right? Which I know some of you and that maybe the introverts watching this, you think that sounds like my personal nightmare. All right, you can set some expectations, you can set some boundaries, and now all of a sudden, if we've shared a hotel room or if you stayed at my house, that's a deeper relationship than I just had dinner with you once at this conference. And then those are more lifelong friendships or lifelong relationships. So that's a bonus tip. Again, I know that's not for everyone, but that's been really effective for me. And then lastly, the ethos on this kind of strategic part is focus on quality over quantity. We're not just trying to collect names. We're not just trying to collect business cards. We're not just trying to have hundreds of people in our world. I'm trying to go quality and narrow in on people who I do life with, I build relationships with, and I add value to. That brings me to the next part, which is the what to look for. So I had a mentor one time, he said, Chandler, there's 4 types of people. There's adders, there's multipliers, there's subtractors, and dividers. Okay, so you might be looking for people based on their net worth or based on their health or based on whatever area of your life that you're trying to grow in, but I would encourage you to also look through this framework. So an adder, this is someone who adds value to your life. You're probably leaving them encouraged, positive, upbeat, with more energy, all that stuff, right? And then there's multipliers. Okay, I want you to think of one person in your life who's proactive, who opens doors, who challenges you even when it's uncomfortable, and they help you multiply your success. Maybe they're giving you intros. Maybe they're saying, hey, how can I support you, right? Spend more time with those people and look for more of those people, because we also know, and I bet you could think of about a dozen people in these other 2 categories. Now, this next bucket is subtractors. So there's this book called Multipliers, and it has this framework of energy vampires. That's what she calls them, right? Energy vampires. And so subtractors, these are people who are negative. They're probably obsessed with watching the news. They're always complaining to you about this problem in their life, the latest news story. And you notice that when you spend time with them, your energy goes down and you're a little bit more discouraged, right? You're probably obsessed over people, not ideas, right? So they subtract from your life. And then there's dividers. This is the worst bucket. Avoid these at all costs. So these are the people who maybe talk bad about you to other people, right, who don't recommend you or put you down to others. Or maybe they actively take. These are takers. They're just take. And so there becomes a certain point where you just got to cut those people off. I've had people in my life who have actively said, hey, I'm gonna try to poach and hire your employees. That was someone close to me. And they kept doing it until finally one day I just woke up and said, this person's a divider. They are not actively encouraging my success. They're sabotaging it by trying to hire my best people, right? So I cut them out of my life. So I want you to do an audit of your closest circle, all right? So take the 5 to 10 people you spend the most time with, list them out, and then put a second column that says, are they an adder? Are they a multiplier? Are they a subtractor? Or are they a divider? And you got to rebalance, because maybe you go through that process and you say, whew, over 50% of these are dividers or subtractors. Well, you got to either cut those folks off, or maybe it's like, hey, this is a family member or something. You just can't cut this person off. So you got to diminish the time that you spend with them, or redefine the relationship, which I'll talk about next. So let's talk about responding to red flags or setting boundaries with negative influences. So dividers or subtractors. So I had a person who was really close to me in my life. And every time I would go back home, this person would nag at me, they would complain. It was just negative. You never come home to see me. You know, we don't have enough time together. This is all this. And so finally, I reached a point in my life where I said, hey, to this person with love, I said, this is exactly why I'm not coming home as much as you might want. This is exactly why we're not spending more time together. This is the reason why. And so great news. You get the opportunity to change that, right? And I know this feels intense and it's an uncomfortable conversation. And I'm an Enneagram 8, so maybe I'm more predisposed to have these type of conversations on a regular basis. But I said, hey, great news, you can change this. Like, I'm just instituting a no negativity zone. So if I'm gonna come home and it's gonna be negative, it's gonna be complaining about all the things, about what's not going well with our relationship or my life or your life or all that, well then that time is just gonna get shorter and shorter, right? Because I've got a no negativity zone. I think this is a concept from Grant Cardone. I love it. He even goes so far as to say, hey, you need a sign in your workspace, or you need a sign in your house that says no negativity zone. Really, it comes down to having a frank and honest conversation with these folks to redefine the dynamics of that relationship and figure out if it's worth keeping, all right? It's the kindest thing that you can do. And I'll tell you, the punchline of that story, that person changed their behavior. And we have an incredible relationship, right? But it all started with me saying, hey, you got to change or our relationship's going to change. And it's going to mean we're spending less time together. So this is especially important with family members, friends, or maybe you're like, I cannot change the fact that I'm going to be with them, but you can change how you interact and how much time you spend with them. So that's the people plan framework. Again, your network is your net worth. So you got to be intentional about building it. And so what I want you to do right now to implement this video is a couple things. Number one, I want you to audit your circle. So who are the 5 to 10 people that you're spending the most time with? And are they adders, dividers, subtractors? Where are they at? And should you spend less or more time with them? And then secondly, and most important, you got to start reaching out or planning and creating your people plan. So you got to create the people plan and then reach out to the people you want to spend more time with and that you want to deepen relationships with. This doesn't happen on accident. It happens on purpose. And I promise if you implement this, you're going to look up a few months from now, a year from now, a few years from now, and you're not going to recognize the network that you have because it's going to be full of people who inspire you, who encourage you, and who challenge you. So that's all I got for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. As you know, we pour a lot into these videos. So if you got any value out of this, all I ask is that you click the like button, you subscribe to this channel, and then comment below and let me know your biggest takeaway. All right, so comment below. I read and respond to every single comment. And then maybe, just maybe, if you're trying to build your people plan for this video, share this video to someone you know who is a multiplier and who is an adder, or maybe somebody you know who needs what I talk about in this video to help them level up their network. All right, so do those things right now and I'll see you in the next video.